She stood frozen, the sound of her jade pendant shattering on the cold hallway floor still ringing in her ears. Around her, the laughter of the bullies echoed like a cruel soundtrack. But what no one even imagined was that, beneath her silent tears and lowered gaze, there was a storm quietly forming, one that would soon turn everything upside down. Aaliyah had just transferred to Westbrook High, a new city, a new school, and no friends. Her family had moved after her father's job relocated. For Aaliyah, it wasn't the first time she had to start over, but this time it felt harder. She missed her grandmother, her childhood home, and most of all, the quiet tea ceremonies they used to share every Sunday, where her grandmother would gently run her fingers along the smooth jade pendant she'd passed down to Aaliyah on her 12th birthday. This necklace, her grandmother had whispered once, carries the strength of all the women who came before you. You wear it not for beauty but to remember who you are. That morning, Aaliyah wore it like armor. But high school wasn't kind to quiet girls with old-fashioned jewelry and polite smiles, especially not at Westbrook, where status and swagger ruled the halls. It didn't take long before she caught the attention of Brad and his gang, 3 boys who thought cruelty was a sport. He was tall, broad, always loud. He loved attention, and when he saw Aaliyah walking alone in the hallway, he made her his next joke. Hey, new girl, he said, blocking her way with a grin. That's a nice little necklace. You buy it from a toy store. Aaliyah said nothing. She didn't look up. That only fueled his ego. Without warning, he reached out, yanked the necklace, and the chain snapped instantly. The jade hit the floor with a dull clink and rolled away from her feet. Students gasped, and some laughed. Aaliyah dropped to her knees and picked up the pieces with trembling fingers. She said nothing, not because she was scared but because she was remembering every lesson her grandfather taught her on the mat. About restraint, about knowing your moment, about how real strength is not in the first strike, but in the decision to wait. That night, she stared at the broken necklace in her hand and made a choice. She wouldn't stay silent forever. The next day, a notice went out. The gym teacher was holding open demos for the school's annual self-defense week. He wanted volunteers to help demonstrate basic sparring for the rest of the school. Aaliyah's heart beat a little faster. It was her moment. When she walked into the gym, Brad was already there, flexing and joking with his friends. He saw her and smirked. You here to learn how to defend yourself? He sneered. No, she said quietly. I'm here to show others how. The coach welcomed Aaliyah onto the mat. He had no idea what she was capable of, but respected her courage. Brad, on the other hand, was thrilled. He thought it would be fun to embarrass her again, this time in front of even more people. The gym filled with students. Everyone had heard about the incident in the hallway. Now they were curious. Some pulled out their phones. Some just leaned forward, hoping for drama. As they squared off, Brad chuckled. Don't cry this time. Aaliyah simply bowed. The whistle blew. Brad charged first, loud, wild, untrained. He came in swinging, thinking it would be over in seconds. But Aaliyah moved like water. She sidestepped, ducked, and when the moment came, grabbed his wrist, pivoted, and flipped him straight onto the mat. A solid, clean throw. Brad hit the ground hard. The gym gasped. He scrambled up, face red. Angry now, he attacked again, trying to grab her arm. She blocked, turned, and brought him down a second time, this time with a sweeping leg kick that knocked the breath from his chest. His friends stopped laughing. By the third attempt, Brad hesitated. He circled her, unsure now, and that was all she needed. She moved in not to hurt him but to teach him. A graceful shoulder throw brought him down once more, and this time, he stayed down. Coach blew the whistle. The match was over. The room fell silent. Then, one student clapped. Another followed. Soon, the entire gym echoed with applause. Not for the spectacle, but for the control, the calm power, the unshakable dignity Aaliyah had shown. Brad stood up slowly, humbled. He didn't meet her eyes. She turned to leave the mat. But the story didn't end there. The next day, she found a small box on her desk. Inside was her necklace. The chain was soldered back together, and the jade stone polished clean. There was no note, no apology. But some gestures speak louder than words. From that day forward, no one called her weak again. In fact, people started looking up to her. Girls approached her to ask about self-defense classes. Teachers noticed the quiet leadership she carried, and Brad, he never bothered anyone again, not because he feared her fists, but because she had shattered the foundation of his ego in front of everyone, not with anger, but with grace. Aaliyah wore her necklace every day, not because it was whole again, but because she was. She had faced cruelty, humiliation, and the temptation to fight out of rage, but she waited. She responded with discipline, not revenge. And in doing so, she reminded everyone around her that the strongest people aren't the Loudest. Asterisk, they're the ones who know their worth and never have to prove it. Asterisk,